Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today. We bring you a developing story out of Iran that has shocked the world. Iran has executed 44-year-old Babak Shahbazi, an industrial technician who was accused of espionage. He was allegedly spying for Israel's Mossad. But there's more to this case than meets the eye. Activists are now raising serious concerns, claiming that Shahbazi was tortured into confessing to crimes he may not have committed. This execution has sparked outrage, internationally human. Rights organizations are condemning Iran for what they call an unfair trial, with little evidence to support the charges. Shahbazi's family insists that he was an innocent man falsely accused and manipulated into a confession under extreme duress. The allegations surrounding Shahbazi's death have sent ripples through the human rights community across the globe. Critics argue that the trial was a mere formality, lacking transparency and fair judicial process. Many believe that the true nature of the charges was a cover-up for political motivations rather than any real espionage. Activity for years, Iran has been engaged in a battle against foreign intelligence agencies, especially those linked to Israel and the West. This execution is just one part of a much larger picture of increased state repression that many say is aimed at silencing dissent within the country. Shahbazi's case shines a light on Iran's aggressive stance towards foreign espionage, while the Iranian government claims these actions are crucial. For national security, there are growing concerns about the rights of individuals and the process by which such decisions are made. This recent execution comes in the wake of a series of other high-profile cases where people have been sentenced to death under accusations of spying or betrayal. The Iranian government has long claimed that it is under threat from foreign powers and that its actions are necessary to protect the country's sovereignty. However, many argue that the measures being taken against individuals accused of espionage are excessively harsh and violate fundamental human rights. The lack of due process in these cases has led to global condemnation, with many calling for a re-evaluation of how Iran handles such sensitive matters. Human rights organizations argue that Shahbazi's execution was a clear violation of international law and that the Iranian government should be held accountable for its actions. The Iranian authorities have consistently denied claims of torture or unfair treatment during trials. Yet, the testimonies of those close to Shahbazi paint a different picture, according to family members and activists. Shahbazi was subjected to extreme pressure and abuse while in custody in a bid to extract a confession that would be used against him. The case has raised questions about the transparency of Iran's judicial system and its willingness to uphold the rights of individuals accused of serious crimes. The international community has expressed grave concern over the growing number of executions carried out under questionable circumstances. Critics argue that the pattern of executions linked to espionage charges reflects a broader trend of political repression in Iran rather than the pursuit of justice. The controversy surrounding Shahbazi's case is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the larger issue of human rights in Iran. The government's crackdown on dissent has intensified in recent years, with many activists and critics of the regime finding themselves targeted by the authorities. The execution of individuals accused of espionage has become a convenient tool for silencing political opposition and those who dare to challenge the government's narrative in a country where free speech and political dissent are severely limited. The case of Babak Shahbazi highlights the severe risks faced by individuals who find themselves accused of crimes against the state. For those who live in Iran, it is increasingly difficult to distinguish between legitimate national security threats and the political motivations behind such accusations. The secrecy surrounding many of these cases has left the public with little information about the true nature of the charges being levied against individuals accused of espionage. In Shahbazi's case, The lack of clear evidence or even a proper trial has left many wondering if he was truly guilty of the crime he was accused of, or if he was simply another victim of a politically motivated attack against those seen as threats to the regime, as more information continues to surface about Shahbazi. Execution human rights groups have called for an independent investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. They argue that only through a transparent and impartial investigation can the truth be uncovered and accountability be ensured. The growing outcry from international organizations and foreign governments has placed additional pressure on Iran to address these concerns. However, the Iranian government has repeatedly dismissed calls for external intervention and has instead doubled down on its claims of national security being at stake. Critics argue that this approach only serves to further isolate Iran on the world stage and exacerbate tensions between the country and the international community. At the same time, the execution has sparked debate within Iran itself, with some citizens questioning the actions of their government, while others continue to support the regime's stance on national security. These conflicting views reflect the deep divisions that exist within Iranian society and the challenge of reconciling the country's internal politics with its place in the global arena. For many Iranians, the execution of individuals like Shahbazi represents a troubling trend of authoritarianism and a growing disregard for human rights. Yet others view the harsh measures as necessary steps in the face of perceived threats from foreign powers. Whatever the perspective, the execution of Babak Shahbazi has left an indelible mark on the ongoing debate about justice, human rights, and the role of the state in shaping the future of Iran. The international community continues to monitor the situation closely, with calls for greater accountability and transparency echoing across diplomatic channels as the case of Babak Shahbazi unfolds. It remains to be seen how the Iranian government will respond to the growing pressure for reform, and whether any real change will emerge from this tragic incident. One thing is certain: the world will be watching closely as this case continues to develop, with many hoping that it will serve as a turning point in the ongoing struggle for human rights and justice in Iran. While the Iranian authorities continue to defend their actions, the global community remains unconvinced and continues to call for change. As long as individuals like Babak Shahbazi continue to face execution under dubious circumstances, there will be no shortage of calls for justice and accountability to those who are affected by the government's actions. It remains a dark chapter in the history of Iran's treatment of its citizens, and a reminder of the challenges that still lie ahead for those who continue to fight for justice and the protection of human rights in the country. The execution of Babak Shahbazi raises many difficult questions about the balance between national security and individual rights, and whether it is possible to have a fair trial under a regime that is known for its harsh measures against perceived enemies of the state. While the Iranian government may continue to defend its actions, the world's attention will remain focused on this tragic event and the broader implications it has for the ongoing struggle for justice in Iran. As international pressure continues to mount, it is unclear how much longer the Iranian government will be able to maintain its stance without facing serious consequences for its treatment of those accused of espionage and other crimes. This case will likely continue to be a point of contention on the global stage, with ongoing discussions about the need for reform in Iran's judicial system and greater protection for individual rights and freedoms. The fate of Babak Shahbazi may serve as a symbol of the larger struggle taking place within Iran itself, as the country grapples with its own future, and the pressure from the outside world to improve its record on human rights and justice in the coming weeks and months. This case will undoubtedly remain a focal point for activists, governments, and human rights organizations around the world who continue to push for accountability and change within the Iranian system. It is clear that the execution of Babak Shahbazi is more than just a tragic event for one individual. It is a symbol of the ongoing battle between oppressive regimes and the desire for justice and freedom for all people across the globe. This case reminds us of the importance of standing up for those who cannot speak for themselves and continuing to demand justice for those who are silenced under regimes that seek to control every aspect of their citizens' lives. In the face of such adversity, it is the responsibility of the global community to continue to advocate for human rights and to hold those who commit atrocities accountable for their actions. The execution of Babak Shahbazi is not just a story of one man's death. It is part of a larger narrative about the struggle for freedom, justice, and accountability in a world that often seems indifferent to the plight of the powerless and the oppressed. As this story continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether it will lead to real change or simply serve as another tragic chapter in the history of state repression in Iran. But what is certain is that the demand for justice will continue to grow and echo across borders until it is heard loud and clear by those who have the power to effect change and ensure that the rights of all individuals are protected under the law. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this story and others.